Today's episode of the Audiophiliac Daily Show is brought to you by Zoo Audio. Hey friends, Steve Guttenberg here. This is the Audiophiliac Daily Show, and this is the Matrix X-Sabre Pro MQA DAC. It's a beautiful piece of kit, very solid. It's a cast metal chassis. Here is the rear panel. And the other nice thing I can say about this DAC is it just fit right in, literally and figuratively, because I get DACs into review. DACs are a weird category for me because sometimes they just annoy me. Not that they necessarily sound bad, they don't do anything. They're just there. So I get bored and I say, out you go, right? This one, just the opposite. I slotted it into the system, played tunes, titles, CDs, and I was a happy camper. It just did its thing. I wasn't thinking about it. And that's a high compliment for any piece of digital gear. It sounded good. I wasn't passing judgment. Maybe that's what I'm searching for, right? Just sounded good. I was doing other reviews. I had other things to do with other parts of my system. This was just there, minding its own business. And I listened to it for my own pleasure. Didn't take notes. So I linked to all the specs and stuff on the Matrix website, but I think one of the most notable features here is the I2S port. So yeah, it has AES EBU and coax and optical, but the I2S port is kind of unusual, and I used that with the J's Audio CD transport, which was definitely the best sounding input on the DAC. Oh, before I forget to mention the price, because I do forget to mention the price sometimes. The price is $1,999. It comes in silver or black. And like I said, it's one of those things, one of those products that just feels right. It inspires confidence, let's put it that way. So I also set it up on my desktop and use it as a preamp / DAC with my Adam Audio F5 speakers, they're active speakers. And I was a happy camper. The sound just clicked. Then I got around to using the J's Audio CD transport with the I2S running into the Matrix, and then compared the Matrix to the Denafreps Terminator, which also has an I2S input. So I was switching back and forth. And you know what? Yes, I'd say the Denafreps, the Terminator, had more body, more soul, more analog sound. Not exactly, I don't want to use that word. It just had more space between the instruments. I was using the Larry Coryell, the Coryell's CD, which is Larry Coryell and his two sons. And I was present at that session. That was such a great session. Just the exchange between Larry and his sons, Morale and Julian. Wow. Because, they were a family, and they grew up, the sons grew up playing with their father, and the intimacy of the recording is so amazing. So the Terminator did put me more into that space, because I actually sat out, not in the control room for that session. It was in a church, so it wasn't an actual control room, but I was sitting out with the Coryells, the three of them, and I listened a lot of it just from feet away from them during the session, and it was so incredible. What a great experience. And I'm listening to the Terminator and I'm listening to the Matrix, and I'm thinking they're both really good, but the Terminator just puts more of that space, more of that intimacy into the sound coming out of my speakers. It was that kind of difference. So the Matrix definitely was no slacker. The Terminator just put me more into that experience. Let's put it that way. Next up was Bill Withers at Carnegie Hall. Now, I wasn't there for that one, but it's an incredibly good recording for the time, which I think is early 1970s. And in that case, comparing the Matrix to the Terminator, I would say I was more aware of the tonal balance differences, that the Terminator was less bright, and in that sense, more analog than the Matrix, more analog-ish than the Matrix. Yeah, something like that. But again, I would lean towards the Terminator as being little bit more my speed. Now, speaking of analog, I did pop in my Border Patrol DAC. Now, this DAC is old school, definitely not high res. It uses a tube, but a tube rectifier, not a tube in the audio section. And it definitely has a softer, less clear sound. In this case, the Matrix totally clobbered the Border Patrol. The Border Patrol is very, very pleasant sounding DAC. It's like a soft pillow for music. And that's not a bad thing. And in this case, the Matrix was way better than the Border Patrol, hands down. I think I mentioned this band before. It's called Rustic Man, and they have an album called Clock Dust. And it is eerie. It's almost like chamber music. It is essentially rock music, but it has this quiet, hushed quality. Really, really amazing sound, a lot of texture, a lot of details. It's evocative, but it's almost like a soundtrack to a movie kind of deal. And it has atmosphere, lots of it, lots of space, it's whatever reverb they were using in that studio, they should keep using it because it's really, really good. It just doesn't sound like a studio reverb, which I'm sure it is, but it sounds like an actual space. So the Matrix was doing a great job at just pulling that out of the recording. It's amazing, and that's a standard resolution 44:1, 16-bit, but when it's done well, when the recording is really done with care and someone with an ear that was trying to make something that had, musical values, let's put it that way, as opposed to just crushing it and making it loud all the time. This is a very nuanced recording, and I just love it for that. So it doesn't have to be high res to have those qualities. It's innate in the recording itself, and 44:1 16-bit can definitely do it. So yes, I did spend some time listening to high res via Qobuz. Yeah, it does. I'm not a big high res person, so to speak, so I can't just go on waxing about how wonderful it is. It's beautiful. It always still comes down to the recording, but in terms of delivering high res, yes, it does. As for the MQA, well, that's somewhat of a story, because I couldn't get it to work from the Blue Sound Node 2 when I was streaming Tidal. I could get MQA to work over a Mytek Manhattan 2. So I knew that the Node 2 was transmitting MQA. But when I put in the Matrix, no MQA. Okay, so I took the hint. I pulled it over to my computer, hooked it up by USB, and I had everything set up properly in Tidal. I had it in exclusive mode. I had it in pass-through. I had all the buttons checked that I needed to check. And I didn't have any MQA coming from the Matrix. I didn't have the light lighting up, so to speak. I didn't hear MQA sound. So I'm messing with the switches, and then I had it. I said, oh great, must have been my stupid mistake. I got it. And then I went to brush my teeth. I came back. No MQA. It was there, then it was gone. Okay, so I do the whole thing all over again. I do go to the Tidal settings. Yes, check the exclusive mode, pass-through, yes, no, on, off. No, it wasn't going to happen again. I tried, and I tried, and I tried. I quit Tidal, I went back to Tidal. I did all the permutations you could possibly do, and I could get no MQA. So I said, okay. So the big check was to pull out the Matrix and put back the Mytek Manhattan 2, and I had MQA. So there's something flaky about the way the Matrix does its MQA business. Now, I don't know how much of a deal breaker that might be for you guys, because does everybody have Tidal or care about it? I don't know, or care about MQA? I am not super on board with MQA, but when it's there and it's good, I'll certainly listen to it that way. But in every other respect, I really enjoyed my time with the Matrix. Now, and I didn't listen to DSD. I'm sorry, again, I just can't wrap my brain around finding any music I would care to listen to in DSD. And I don't have it handy, and I can't get it to play. This is my fault, because I haven't made enough of an attempt to actually get DSD files to work and to play together with all the DACs. DSD wasn't happening for me. MQA was pretty flaky. But in every other respect, I think the Matrix is a pretty nice DAC. Pretty good, as my pal Larry David would say. Or he would say, pretty good. Yeah, that's what it is. It's a pretty good DAC. Okay, so I think my work here is at last complete. My name is Steve Guttenberg. This is the Audiophiliac Daily Show. If you like it, please subscribe. Hit that little button right down there. And when you do, hit the notification bell so you'll be notified. If you've already done that stuff with the bell and thing, thank you. Thank you so much for subscribing. What else can I say? Well, you can follow me on Twitter at AudiophiliacMan, at Instagram at steve.guttenberg, and of course there's always the ever wonderful Patreon, which can be found at patreon.com/audiophiliac, and by popular demand there's now a link to it in the description. Oh yes, you don't have to write it all down now anymore. It's right there for your viewing pleasure. You can also check out the playlist for headphone reviews and speaker reviews and electronics reviews, and best of all, in some ways, the music reviews. And interviews with everybody from Nelson Pass and Jay from Next Big Thing Studio. A lot of good interviews up on this site, or actually channel. Now I can really say my work here was at last complete. Thank you so much for watching, and I really do hope to see you back here again very, very soon.